My name is Michael Rhodes, and I run a YouTube channel under my name, Michael Rhodes. And I came into YouTube with my Corolla that I ran up to 481,000 miles before I gave it away. So this is the Corolla Hybrid. It's a 2020, which was purchased in, I believe, June 2019.
Started up because of the temperature. Skip that temperature. 51 degrees for
Now,
that.
my car payments for this
You can see
particular car, I believe, were 511. Yeah, it was
battery's
511
still holding up.
per month,
So
and I
you have
had
to keep
the
driving the car.
dent and
See the
scratch
battery won't go bad.
and the internal
But
cleaning.
you can, as
So
you can
that's what
see,
brought it up to
you can
511.
let it sit.
So I don't know what it was before. It was four
The
something,
first
probably in the
video I did, the
mid
car was sitting
fours,
for 2 weeks.
and I added those two
This is
packages,
what 4
and
days
it
later.
went up to
Doing
511.
the second video,
My
where I
car
did it
insurance,
in a
I
few days.
forget how
And we
much
have
my car insurance
481,000 a
was
month, 805, as you can
when
see.
I purchased
The
this.
car stopped
But my car
charging.
insurance for my
So now
RAV4
it's just worrying
is
about warming the engine up. You can
185, I believe. And the car insurance for the Corolla was definitely
It'll take a little
cheaper,
while for
cheaper
the
than the RAV4. The
engine to warm
RAV4 is
up.
a 2024. This Corolla is a 2020,
We in
which was purchased
41.5
in
horsepower, so you're not going to get the
2019.
best gas
So as you can
mileage
see here, this
going
car
under
actually has
100.
100, 481,000 miles,
Let's go back
and the work I
to
was doing with it was a long distance currying.
as you can see, it's not
I
charging.
probably still get the questions about how I got my mileage up that high. I was doing
The
long
computer
distance
doesn't want to
currying
charge it.
from Philadelphia. Well,
It's more
that's where I used
concerned
to
with
live. That's where I'm from.
warming the engine up
Philadelphia, pick up in New
and
York
keeping the
City, and then drop off in,
engine at normal
was it
operating temperature
Glen
because
Allen? Glen
these guys are about
Allen,
to use it. I'm about to start driving it.
Virginia. So I was doing
And
that 5 days a
with
week for
the heat
a few years. That's
still
why I have
for
my mileage up that
the
high.
drive.
Now the car
All
is
right, so
in
again, we have
my brother's possession
481,000,
now. He has it, and
805.
I'm
Go back
currently
here
driving the
to the
Rav
back
Four.
seats. This is where the
So
battery,
when I
the
first got
hybrid
this car,
battery, is
I
housed,
considered I was at
and the
another
fan is
job, and I
there
considered
with the filter.
to just drive it for Uber and Lyft and just make money
Now
that way. So
this
one day I said, you know what, I'm
is
fed up
where
with
the filter
this
is
job I'm at,
housed.
and let me just try this Uber and Lyft thing. My credit score was
Filters out
optimal to make the
4 degrees.
purchase, and
If this get
I
clogged
went
up,
to
the
Langhorne, PA,
battery will
not too far from where I lived,
send a signal to the dash.
and made the purchase. At first, I was going to get the
Traction
Prius.
battery.
When I said, well, I did test drive the Prius. I didn't even know they had
Put this oil seal right there,
Corolla
and
version, a
that
hybrid version
little
of the
clip will
Corolla.
come up on the dash.
So I ended up getting
This normally
the Corolla
is
because I test
blocked with a
drive
seat
the
cover. This
Prius,
happened to me a couple
and
of
it
times.
when I put it
This
in reverse, it made
tells
a
the code
I
up
think a
front.
beeping
It'll
sound.
tell you the
It was very
temperature,
audible. I forget
traction
exactly what the
code.
sound was, but it sounded very annoying, and I didn't want to get it. So I asked them, did they have another hybrid available? And he mentioned the Corolla, and I'm getting the Corolla. There was an issue with the color, but I worked that out and got another. I guess they shipped it from another dealership, and they probably put past the fees on to me. I don't really remember. Dealers are very deceitful. So, if you don't ask, I'm sure they will not tell you.
Yeah.
So, this play was all about making enough money that I could pay all my bills off and still have money left over
Yeah.
for, investments and other things I wanted to do. So, I started off pretty much in the negative. So I did Uber for this was in 2019. I did Uber for
That's what the outside
a
looks
few
like.
months,
Goes
and
back
then
to
I didn't really
what it
understand the
looks like.
market, or I just really wasn't willing to put the time in,
And
and
underneath the
I
filter
found a job,
is a combination
a
of
nine to
this
five. It was what did I find?
and this.
I think I found a temporary job. No,
This is a fan.
I was on
Seat
unemployment.
Outside.
And then I found the long distance courier position
So we'll just
that got all the
take a
miles
look
on the
and
Corolla and all the
let me set
internal
this
damage, as you can
frequency.
clearly see.
Air coming in
So, and
cool
that sustained me for about,
hybrid.
say, 3.5 years,
You see the
so about mid
miles
2023.
here.
So,
Let me just lift
and
this
all the
tab
adventures I went
so
on with the
wow.
Corolla, I've been through torrential rainfall, snowstorms, been in two
That's
accidents,
the
and I've survived all of them.
hybrid battery.
All right. The I guess the worst accident I've been in was weather related. I've never been on. I don't. I've only been on
Take a little
in
peek.
one accident, I believe, that involved another car. All the other accidents I've been in have
And
been
protect it.
comprehensive.
One day we'll get there.
And well, I'm showing a battery here. I was going to open it up on this video. I said, but you know what? I actually had to work this day, and I was still doing the long distance currying when I did this video. Now, I believe this is my most viewed
And
video on YouTube to date. So now the damage you see here is
let's see.
because of pulling totes
This goes in it.
in. I transported for a company that had contracts with hospitals and pharmacies, and
These tabs here.
the supplies had to be placed in a tote with ice bags to keep the contents cold.
So when you order the
So
filter for the hybrid
I've
battery,
gone through maintenance. The
that goes
maintenance I've
in.
gone through was what, struts and shocks. I've been through two hub assemblies, tires, obviously, uh, many oil changes. At one time, I was changing my oil every like 3.5 weeks.
Alright, let's see what
So
this
then I got to a point. Well,
Phillips
that's when I was
head
doing it
is
5,000 miles. Then I
about.
got to a
Alright,
point
let's go over a few
that I said,
things
no, I
that
got to
you're
go to
gonna
10,000
need
miles.
when
Now, again,
you
you can do
purchase
your oil
a
change
hybrid
at
car
5,000 miles.
or the
Doing this distance, I
Toyota
had to
hybrid.
start doing it at 10,000 miles. It
Again,
just
that's the
wasn't.
battery, engine
Now,
off.
the making of this video,
10,000 mile
I
oil
haven't
changes. Well, the
driven
dealership
seriously.
tells you to change it at 10,000
Yeah, I
miles.
don't think I was driving this
Alright,
car seriously at the point of this
I've
video
heard
for a
7,500
few months,
miles
or I may
to
have. I
10,000
forget.
miles, and the
But
manufacturer says
obviously, you can see I wasn't cleaning it.
the
So
maintenance
I
light comes on at
think
5,000 miles. So what
I
I
was
did, even
driving
with
the
the rework,
RAV at this
I
point.
changed my
I don't know if in
oil
the beginning of the video you
between
may have
5
seen
and
the
7,000 miles,
RAV4
and I
in the
look over
driveway,
because it's a
but I
maintenance
don't
light.
remember. But and it's
All right,
relatively
on
unimportant.
my car it says
But
maintenance,
the
so that
Corolla
doesn't mean
is
it's
very durable.
specifically oil.
It's very
All right, so I
durable.
look
So
over
when you
my
make your
car, take
purchases,
the tire wear,
think
look
about
under the car,
how much
the
money
suspension,
the
steering,
car is going to bring back to you.
smell of fuel,
Now, most people, I don't
check
know
the
what the
gas
stat
cap
is. I don't believe
at
most people have
5,000
driving
miles. Yeah,
jobs,
because it's
or maybe
maintenance.
one of the
All
number one
right,
driving jobs, driving or
the
number one positions in the states.
brakes.
But whatever the stat
I
is,
drive a
or the
lot,
fact
so I
is,
know the
don't
condition
buy
of my
a
brakes.
vehicle or a car
That's not
based
really
upon
a big
how
issue,
it
but
looks or the
let's say
performance
at
buying a
say
vehicle
10,000
based
miles, which coming up
upon
really soon,
your
I'm gonna
current
take the
economic
tire off,
status.
look at the
Okay.
brakes, inspect the brake
All right. So I
areas,
bought this vehicle
brake
based
pads,
upon
brake
my
calipers, brake
current
rotors.
economic status and its
All
utility.
right,
So those two
it's
things.
been
What's the utility?
about
The
3 months.
utility
I
would
bought the
be,
car in
or
June.
the function. Let me just say the
My
function. What is
fuel
the function? See,
cost,
481,805
if you
as
follow
of
my
the
videos, you know I
recording of this video.
drive a
So
lot.
the your
Not
economic
the
status and
Corolla
the
anymore,
function,
but
the actual
the
function of the car.
Rav.
Yeah. So I had so during this
And as you see, it's
filming of
idling,
this
so
video,
it's not getting
I
great
already
mileage.
stopped
So
driving
when
this
it's
probably
idling,
for a few
yeah,
months.
charge starter back up again.
All
Engine.
right. And I'm still at my old place here in the video, so I
All right.
definitely wasn't driving this. So
More than
this
likely
thing
been
was
through the
just
temperature.
collecting all sorts of dust and
Just trying to keep the
neglect.
temperature
And the
in
longest
this
I didn't
range.
start this car up, I
Fully
believe,
hot
was
yet,
2 weeks.
so
I believe I did
you
a
don't
video.
lose,
It was 2 weeks.
miles
All right,
per
and when it
hour
idles, the
when the car is idling.
mileage goes down.
So in the
So,
Rav,
and I think I did that
I
video to test, like, okay, the battery's
put in
not
about
going to fail just
between
because you
$44
didn't start the
and
car up or drive it regularly.
$25, depending on
Then
how many
someone made a
tires.
comment and said, "Oh, it just took
Right, my
a
longer
year or a
days,
couple of
I
months
put in
off the battery." All
about
right, look,
30,
when these cars get to a certain
$34
age,
into
I'm not going to want them
gas tank.
anymore anyway.
So here,
So that
Yeah,
comment
it's
was largely
yeah,
irrelevant.
it's probably about $10 less.
So
10 to 15
I
depends.
would
But
think.
with
Let's see something
the
here.
Corolla, very fuel efficient car.
All right. So that information is not relevant. So I purchased this car because now how much money was I making? I purchased a car based upon its function and my current economic status. The quick one of the quick ways to be broke. One of if you want a speedy way of never getting out of poverty, if that's the situation you're in, or getting ahead, you know, you have to make wise purchasing decisions on automobiles, especially if your economic status uh, isn't that great. Your current economic status, your income versus your. All right. Now, this time, during the time of me owning this car, the most I've made was I think 2,400 a week, and the car's paid off. I have the title. The the most I've made, about 20. I think 2,500, and the least I've made was I think 900 per week, and that's because I either took days off or the route changed, and I was making less from the route I was on. So I could easily sustain the payments of 511. And remember, that's with two added amenities, which was the internal cleaning and the scratch and dent. All right, and I forget what the car insurance was at the time. First, it had registered in Philly. Then when I moved, it's registered in Delaware. Right, so Pennsylvania to Delaware. So the uh, if you get into an accident, that's why when you get the loan when you finance your car, they have gap insurance, and usually you can have gap insurance on your automobile insurance also. That's separate from the loan. All right. So if you get into an accident and the car is worth less than you, or not less, worth more, yeah, 016 oil. So when your car loan is worth more, or your car is worth more than what the car is worth. All right. So car loan more, car worth less. That's when gap insurance pays or fills in the gap and pays off your car. That's why it's called gap insurance. Well, I'm sure it stands for something. Maybe it may stand for something else, GAP. But it fills the difference between what the car is worth and how much you owe. So consider that. You definitely want to get gap insurance. All right. And no, just don't buy a car that you can't afford that doesn't have a utility that brings in money directly. All right. Or you do another play, which it's riskier. I wouldn't recommend it, but if you have the potential to make more money with the car, now you're taking a risk doing that. So we'll just stick to what I did and what I have experience in, which was using the car as a direct utility to make money. Meaning, because I'm driving the car, I can transport either people or packages. All right. So walk in to the dealership either with a loan from your uh, a credit agency, your bank, so your credit won't be ran multiple times and you get uh, credit inquiries. You want to avoid that if possible. All right. And you want to have knowledge of how your automobile works. You don't want to be held to uh, at the mercy of a dealership or an independent repair shop. You're going to be armed with knowledge on the basics, how to jack up a car, how to what oil your car takes, where to add oil and check fluid levels. Then on the transmission on the newer vehicles, they're CVT. So, and that's the AC compressor, which is an electric motor on there. All right. So now, if it breaks, it's going to cost you more money, all right, than a traditional AC compressor or a water pump. No, that was the water pump actually. Is that the water pump? Yeah, that was that was a water pump, I believe. All right. Excuse me. Yeah, that's the water pump, the electric water pump. So yeah, so it's going to cost you more money. So you have to consider these things when you get a car. Keeping up the maintenance. Now, Toyotas and Hondas are pretty good. I would go with Toyota over Honda. But these cars are economy cars, so if you get it brand new, it's highly unlikely that things are going to break, like electronic parts are going to break. So if you want to bet on a car to get, I would go with the Japanese cars, which would be Toyota or Honda. I don't know about Hyundai's durability, but as you can see from my previous videos and me reviewing this video here, is that they're going to last you. Now, caveat: I got my mileage relatively quickly. All right, so you take that as you will. Now, for the main part, I did all the maintenance myself. Now, most people are not going to be able to do the maintenance themselves. All right, but except for the struts, everything else, let me think. Yes, everything else, I did every single bit of maintenance myself except for the front and rear shocks and struts. I believe there are struts on the front and shock absorbers on the rear. All right, you can look up the difference. Now, depreciation. Now, I don't care about depreciation if I'm going to run the car into the ground. That's some people. I think a commenter may have said that or alluded to it or didn't say it. Uh, if you're going to run the car into the ground and it's relatively low maintenance, depreciation is irrelevant. Okay. Only worry about depreciation when you plan on trading the car in for a newer vehicle. When I get cars like this in my current, how I make my current income, or one of the ways I make my current income, I'm not worried about depreciation because I'm not getting rid of the car. Only worry about depreciation when you're uh, going to get rid of the car. All right. Now, if you're going to give it to a family member or sell it within your friend group or sell it personally, I wouldn't. Well, if you're going to sell it personally to someone that's not in your family, then you should be concerned about depreciation. If you want to reap the maximum, amount of money back. But if you're going to give it to a family member, like I did, I got to over 400,000 miles. Like, who's going to buy this car? You know, I have people in my family that needed a car. I have a brother that graduated college and he needed a car. Well, it appeared as though he wasn't going to ever get a car because he's still unemployed. So I said, you know what, let me do him a favor and gift him a car. And thus far, he hasn't had any problems with it. He since has cleaned the car up, uh, and it's running like it was running with me. I think he got an oil change. All right, but the car is running beautifully according to his report. All right, now again, this is a 2020 Corolla hybrid that was purchased in the summer, I believe June of 2019. I believe there's some green corrosion there on the ground strap. I believe that's what I'm zooming in on. You maybe can't see it from the color in the video, but it's a little green. All right. So factor in your credit score. Factor in the length of the loan. Factor in how much you have to put down on the car. All right. And factor in if you plan on getting rid of the car, depreciation. Right. So even though Toyotas have a high resale value, you're not going to get over, you know, after you get to a, you know, you're not going to really benefit after you get to a certain amount of mileage. All right. You're going to end up with negative equity. All right. So before you make a purchase, know the basics: brake fluid, tire pressure. I see a lot of people in these gas stations and convenient places, convenient stores that have air pumps waiting for air. You can go to an auto parts store and get a cheap $30 to $50 or $20 air compressor, and it's keep in the car. You don't have to go and wait in these lines just for air. All right. Now myself, I keep a jack, a tire plug kit, and an impact. Now you don't have to have an impact. You can have a tire iron or like a breaker bar and a socket. But this is a basic set, of tools to get you through that. All right. That's the coil packs made by Denso for Toyota. All right. So overall, this car has been a blessing to me. Has been an asset, and I bought it. I bought it brand new. Now you have a lot of people online saying don't buy brand new cars. Well, don't buy if you're broke. It depends on your economic status. But if you're using the car for utility, meaning you're physically driving it to deliver people and packages, I recommend buying brand new with the proper money down, credit score, and interest rate. Okay? Credit score, money down, and interest rate. And you're using it for a utility, either transporting people or packages, I recommend buying brand new. If you intend on staying in the business, all right, and you've worked out a business model that you are sure it's going to work. Now, nothing's really sure, but let's say you have a permanent contract that's going to make you a certain amount of money. I'm not talking about Uber. All right, I would go into making brand new purchases with Uber with already knowledge of how Uber and Lyft works. All right, I wouldn't just go into it because Uber and Lyft is more random. I would go into buying a brand new car with a contract in place, all right, or a truck or van, all right, with a contract in place. So, how I did it was I took a huge risk. All right, I don't recommend you doing that, but you do what you want with your money. All right, and I eventually uh, got a contract. What did it take me from June? No, for a year. I think I was working odd jobs and doing Uber, and I was doing doing odd jobs in Uber, and I sustained myself. And I was able to pay the 511 per month plus car insurance, my rent, and other bills. And then the pandemic came. Then I was on unemployment, and then around October 2020, I got the a stable contract, which I was just transporting medical stuff, medical pharmaceutical drugs. So, and I did that for 3.5 years, and then for the other year and a half or 2 years, I got a shorter route, which I was making significantly less money, but with the same company. So I sustained myself. So I kept an income, and the car was directly responsible for me making money. I wasn't like going to an office building and the car was just sitting there in the lot. No, the car was rolling. All right, so it's an asset. Now, if the car is just sitting in the lot, so you buy a Mercedes or a BMW or a new car instead of buying a used car. Now that car is not an asset. All right, that's the difference. So if the car is not constantly moving or being viewed and people are paying you for it, then it's not an asset. If the car is just sitting there, no one's looking at it, you're not making an income directly from the car, it's not an asset. If the car's rolling and you're making money off of the car, moving down the road, then it's an asset. So look at it like that. Change the way you think. Okay? I think we're ready to wrap up here. Have a long term mindset. Long term mindset. You know what? We'll save that for part two. Building a long term mindset around cars because cars are a quick way to keep you broke and to make sure you never get ahead. So I'll see you back here in part two. If you've gotten value out of this video, please consider liking and subscribing to my YouTube channel. I'll see you in the next one.